I bought this thing and chopsticks because I was trying doing this, but then it feels more natural to be on chopstick. Shocking, right? Like this. Yeah, okay. Good. This video is dedicated to pho. Alright, sitting at number 5, we have La Dong. Okay, I'm pretty much torn La Dong apart from my top 10 video as I was setting the datum for the entire list. La Dong, while have a lot of kinks to iron out in the menus, their bowl of pho is not one of those kinks. Dollar for dollar, it really gave the other upper entries a run for their money, and I think this bowl has hit a ceiling. But wow, what a ceiling. I think this is a damn good effort being a newly established joint and focus more on the family and dinner settings to come in swinging with this Northern bowl. So how do I put this delicately? If a Vietnamese family decided to gather all their children at home at 5 a.m. on a Saturday to prepare a home-cooked, loving pot of pho to late afternoon and eat this for dinner, this is what it probably would taste like. This is peak as home-cooked pho can taste. Mind you, even my 60-year-old Hanoian parents can't even make this. And the key word is home-cooked. This is peak, and this is where the ceiling is. Now, if you an avid Top Gear fan or not, you probably remember this scene. This is when Jeremy Clarkson has to pick between the petrol-powered M3 and the electric hybrid i8. M3 represents the best of where we come from, and the i8 represents where we headed. I feel the same sentiment about this bowl. This is the best that a happy family can make at home. And from where we're heading, what we truly yearn for is a commercial bowl of pho. But is that what you really want? That's the question. The meat and the noodles are spot on. The broth tastes like it still needs another 5 to 8 hours. Okay, I just made that up. All my ass is saying is it just needs to be more oomph. There's a dedicated tray for garlic vinegar, fresh chili peppers, and limes. This is a bit odd comparing to traditional setup like giving jars of this on a table like a true northern style joint. But it is understandable since it's a full menu restaurant, not just a pho joint. Pho dough on request with additional charge if you want or you know about its existence. So overall, it is a bad thing? Not at all. Not for the context and the settings that La Dong is being looked at from my point of view. I absolutely adore this bowl. And with that credentials, you can start to gauge what my expectation would be for the top 4 entries. Are you excited? I am excited. And a bit scared. Sitting at number 4 is Mum. I think I did enough glazing for this restaurant on the top 10 list, so I'm just keep this very brief here. But then in one winter, they decided to do pho for a restaurant that earned the number 1 spot on my restaurant list without even offering pho as of 2022. Imagine how much hype it was for me when Mom decided to do pho for their seasonal menu. I got 2 bowls. One is traditional bowl and one is stir-fry sirloin steak bowl. This is actually my second time trying Mom's pho for the past 3 years, and still it resides outside my top 3. I think part of it was the hype I built for myself even after taming it down to a sane level. The broth hits all kinds of good notes while maintaining its visually clear body, but the eggy aftertaste didn't quite come. The meat was excellent. The noodle was on par but nothing exceptional. They know their way around the wok and the meat, and stir-frying sirloin would be the way to go to mask the rest of the bowl. This is why 13 got really popular in Hanoi, this kind of stir-frying sirloin bowl. And my hunch was right. This bowl by far has the best meat of this entire list, and if you're into that protein, go for it. If it ever comes up in the menu again, alright, enough glazing. Let's move. Now, sitting at number 3 is 1010. I will move past this since I spoke extensively about this in the top 10 restaurant video. I'll just cut it right here, and I just put it right here because I'm lazy, just to cover a few more things. Let's just dive into the menu real quick. Just like a typical pho joint in Vietnam, you would get items like pho Thai go. This is how you call out an order for a bowl of pho. Forget about all the pseudo name like special pho or Hanoi pho. Pho means pho. Thai means how you want the meat to be done. In this case, Thai means medium. Go is what cut of meat you want. In this case, go means brisket cut. In any joint in Vietnam, you would just yell out, "Give me one medium brisket," and they will understand. Pho joints are typically breakfast joints. Things move at a very brisk pace, and people go in and out very quickly before work hours. You can see here, for example, in Hanoi. Phở, loi go, same concept here, but you call for 2 cuts of meat instead of 1. Here you call for loi, which is the more muscular cut, and go, which is the brisket cut. Phở áp chảo, this is an exception. Áp chảo means sauteing, which means you want your beef, regardless of the cut at this point, to be sauteed in a pan or wok with fat and garlic instead of a traditional hot dip. It does overwhelm any subtleness of the broth since all you can taste is the salty garlic beef. Very indulgent choice. Sitting at number 2 is Nom Nam. Nom Nam borrowed their number 2 spot strongly for many months after the recency bias attacks from the bowls of Tan Tan, Mum, La Dong and Nha Minh simply because of their broth. For a traditional style bowl, Nom Nam currently has the best and the most accurate broth in this entire city. I have paraded around this egginess aftertaste for so many years, and in truth, it has been the yardstick that I have used to measure a lot of phos in the city. On the other hand, looking from an objective perspective, it will also be the stick to beat me with since it is such an intangible and subjective attribute. On top of the fact that food is one of the most personal aspects, I do realize this concern and I do own up to this limitation in the top 10 restaurant video. This is an equivalent of Asians putting water in their rice cooker and stop the moment their ancestor tap on their shoulder. Yeah, it's a bit like that. You just have to trust me on it. Given the fact that you made it this far into the video, I figured as much. So going back to Nom Nam, visually it can look very misleading or downright disappointing when it comes out of the kitchen. I mean, take a look at these photos. When I do research, if it looks like this 6 times out of 10, I would not even prioritize it on the list of the place to go next. Let this be my own lesson when doing Yelp search for the next restaurant. I went simply because of Reddit, so I have you to thank for. This broth is the hardest battle to win me over. I kinda gave up on the idea of getting fresh noodles from any of these places, and that I can discern quite easily through Yelp and Google Photos, but the broth is and will always be a mystery. Until you try it, you won't know it. So imagine my surprise when I finally sip this broth. If you want a presentation of what I have been yapping about, this is as close as it gets on this land as of 2025. For me, the other components take note from a southern style bowl such as bean sprout, beef balls, beef trites, tendon. It is truly a great southern bowl of pho. Man, the meat. In fact, the fattiness of these cuts is the same as the bowl in Go Street joint in Hanoi in 2009. I think part of this egginess is rendered through the fat in these brisket cuts. Remember when I mentioned earlier about only getting pho with my parents over the weekend? And pho tự do or freedom pho on Go Street was it for my family. This brisket cut brought me back to the days that are gone forever. Please go try it. It's the best traditional bowl as of early 2025. Now sitting at number 1 is D&D. So after all the yapping, we finally arrive at this point. And disappointingly to many of you, D&D is the place in questions. Before you shove that pitchfork into my innards, let me make a case for D&D, please. Now I do understand the confusion and no, this is not a rage bait. I mean, after $28 without add-ons and before taxes, I would have been pissed too. At least at first. But that does bring back to a point that was never discussed in full. I think the reason an expensive of anything Vietnamese has always been at the forefront of an argument package with the unusual but usual entitlement. It is that Vietnamese food is supposed to be cheap because that's what we grow up knowing and that's why we love it. Moreover, on the other side of the POS, it is an entire new generation of Asian cooks and chefs trying to break the past traditions and make something more than just the usual tag of being cheap and cheerful. Dare I say, they were to make a Viet menu relatively expensive. Of course, a menu doesn't go expensive without proper merits. You don't get to charge this price or that price simply because you did something slightly different than what a Vietnamese parent would have done at home. How many times you hear the argument of, oh, that is $30? My folk can make it at home for $3, or I could have it in Vietnam for 3 cents. Well, you are neither one of those cases right now. You are always welcome to fly there and stretch your $20 as far as your heart content. But you are here in New York. You are out and about, and you are also probably have an Open Table and Resi app on your phone, getting ready to get the Atomicses and Manhattans of the world. You want that kind of places, but just not with Vietnamese food. So why doesn't Vietnamese food get a pass? Why Italian? Why French? Why Italian American get a pass to be expensive food by default? Because the chef went to culinary school? Okay, fair point, but at least give this generation a chance. Look, I am not saying that D&D took that chance. It is hard to take this conversation past that deep-rooted expectation of a cuisine stemmed from a third world country. Yes, I get it. Vietnamese food arguably has never been at the height of all the cuisine to be looked at, enjoy at the same lens, but my god, D&D is trying to do something different. Pho was among many of the items on the menu, and this is the price bracket that D&D is calling for. And it is hard. This is not a traditional bowl of pho by Northern standard and by Southern standard. This is pho teen. It is incredibly hard bowl to swallow for those of you who just outright reject Northern pho as a point of preference. And for that group of eaters, I am okay with that. I respect that. But if you just hate the bowl because you're just confused that this type of pho exists, or you didn't know about this type of pho exists, then okay, get to know it first, then decide to hate it. And for those you just hate it because of the price, then I can never argue with that, but you're conscious with your money. Fine. That's fair. I spoke about this on my top 10, so I just clipped it right here about the original of this bowl. This bowl sits at the junction where different palates and preferences for Northern bowl or Southern bowl sit. In fact, this encourages me to talk about pho in detail for the first part of this series. And also, this encouraged me to separate the two lists of top Vietnamese restaurant and top pho places to go. Understanding my bias and where I comes from, I presented to you the list 2025. Okay, that concludes another lengthy video. I will try in the future to not make a habit of doing this. I hope this at least gives you some insights on how pho as a bowl is created, ingredient by ingredient. I mean, I'm not an idiot. I know, maybe I am. I know that restaurants cut corners and skip steps all the time, as long as they get the final taste accurate enough to fool the biggest crowds in New York City. Having been a student in a Vietnamese education, believe me, I would have done the same. In fact, that's what I did through all my school years. No, not cooking pho in high school, cutting corners. So now I hope you lend your trust to this idiotic mind to give you the tools to discern what could be a good Southern pho and a good bowl of Northern pho. My list practically means nothing to lots of people. But if you go into this cuisine as a blank new file, then at least take a look at this messed up file, my memories, to peruse and most importantly to avoid the mistakes and biases I have grown in the back of my head. Pho, just like many soups, is a complex mix of ingredients, heat, pressure, and a reflection of a country with complex history, cultures, south to north and ultimately east to west. No one holds the candle to shining to the right bowl. It is what you love ultimately matters. As much like the eatery list, I will constantly update this pho list as months go by. I do try to order pho anywhere I can because I know that's something that a lot of you care about and probably your only go-to Vietnamese item when you crave for something healthy. But as you garner your skills, I hope one day this list is useless to you. But for those of you who are at the beginning of this journey, I have two things to say to you. To take anything out of this video, one, pho is a breakfast food item, remember that. So try it in the morning if you can. Yes, I know most of the Vietnamese restaurants in the city don't open until lunch, hence the whole dilemma. And two, I can't wait for you to come to Vietnam and try it for yourself, so it will inherently ruin pho for you in the city. This is just me trying to prepare you for it. Another shameless plug, I have a Patreon because, you know, but since I don't have a sponsor yet, this video is sponsored by 23.com, the leading website on ranking Vietnamese restaurants in New York City from the most personal and selfish point of view. With $0, you'll be able to access website with no ads interruptions. Sign up now and the code is, what are you signing up for? For the first 12 months at $0 a month. Alright, I need to shut up and edit this thing now. Let's go. Like this. Yeah, okay. Good. Alright.